Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. Look at this beautiful sunset we have on our green screen behind us here. Typical Florida sunset over the St. Johns River, courtesy of our number one Stay Curious watcher out there, Gary Gerald from Collins, Georgia. Gary was in town. Sorry I didn't see you, Gary, when you were in town. If you're still around, maybe we'll bump into each other launching that Crew 6 on Wednesday night. But thank you all for sharing what you do on Stay Curious. You send me a picture, we may pop you up there, but this is just sort of the beautiful scenery we have up here, and I know that Bill Whiting's eating that out. Marty, Bill said it was a sleet storm up there in Michigan where he's at right now. So we got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about, of course, the abort of the Crew 6 Dragon last night with some photographs from ASM partner Mark Marquette. We're going to talk about the next 2 nights. If it's clear, get outside at sunset, look into that twilight. You're going to see the 2 brightest planets merge as one star on Wednesday, Thursday night. So you want to check that out. We'll look at that in just a minute. And we've got 2 shuttles of this month of February that we want to highlight with 2 astronaut friends of our museum, Andy Allen, STS-75, and Nicole Stott on STS-133, the last flight of Discovery. So let's kick it off there, Marty, as we're looking at the beautiful sunset there of Gary Gerald. And there's our shuttles of the month there. 11 shuttles in the month of February. All 5 orbiters flew in that month, and we're going to feature there the last first on the bottom row there, STS-75 launched February 22nd, and STS-133 launched on February 24th. And don't have those years in front of me here. I'll grab the scroll in a minute and we'll talk about those, as I didn't print out my notes, as I had a little printer snafu in our studio here, so I'm going to be flying by without any notes. That's okay. I think I can figure out what we're going to talk about here. There is the moon on the bottom, the planet Venus above it, and Jupiter above that, and a photograph taken by ASM fan Steve Hammer. Steve, thank you for submitting this picture. This was the scene over the weekend. This was like Friday, as the moon did a moon dance, of course. It moves. In fact, you hold your hand out, and it will move from your about 10 degrees, 12 and a half degrees each day, which is the distance of your knuckle as held out at arm's length, is what I'm trying to say there. So this is the other night, Saturday night, when the moon was a lot closer to Jupiter. That is Venus and Jupiter. And tonight they're going to be this close together. That is a computer planetarium program called Stellarium. Think aquarium and stellar. Stellarium. This is a screenshot off of that. They're going to be this close. You will just barely be able to slip the moon in between them. The moon's only half a degree across, all right? But we want to, as you're looking at these worlds and you're looking at them as stars, I want you to remember that this is really what Jupiter looks like in a telescope. Amateur astronomer Jeff Merrick of the Brevard Astronomical Society shares this with us. You see 3 of the 4 Galileo moons, but you can clearly see the stripes of the cloud bands and the oval red spot there. Where's the 4th moon? Well, either it's way to the left or right of this shot, but most likely it's behind the Jupiter, as Jupiter's moons are in an equatorial plane with its equator, and they either go in front of or behind it frequently. And there's an app for that to show you what to do. But that's what Jupiter looks like. And there's what the Webb telescope has shown us that Jupiter looks like in infrared light. First time we've ever seen Jupiter like that from the Webb telescope. Jupiter, of course, everything in the solar system can fit inside of Jupiter. When you look at this view tonight, think about that. All the planets, all their moons, all the meteors, all the asteroids, everything, comets, you name it, can fit inside of Jupiter comfortably, all right? It is so huge. It's 1/10 the size of our sun and 10 times bigger than the Earth. There it is. Get your telescopes out and get your last views of Jupiter. As we see, picture that I took of Jupiter and Saturn close to each other. This was a few years ago. All right. But this is the way the scene's going to look like tonight and tomorrow night. Getting a little bit closer. Throw a star filter on that camera and it'll just look beautiful. So this is not a rare occurrence. This happens quite frequently with Venus, which is inside the orbit of the Earth and takes 200 and some days to orbit the sun. It's frequently bobbing up and down and meeting Jupiter either in the evening sky or the morning sky when Jupiter is there. Called the Earth's twin. They're just about identical in size. We are just a little over 8,000 miles, 9,226 miles in diameter is the Earth's diameter. And Venus is about less than 200 miles smaller than that. But where we have this luscious, marble, beautiful looking whites, blues, tans, if we could see the surface of Venus, it's a hellish world with 900-degree surface, over 200 active volcanoes, kinds that are just like we see the bands, light bands there. That's lava activity. And it's completely covered in clouds. And this is what it looks like in your backyard telescope. It goes through phases like the moon. And when it's closest to Earth, it will be the crescent phase. Right now, it's in this gibbous phase off of my arms here, there, yeah, right there. But it does go through phases like the moon, and we thought that Venus might be a primeval jungle world, as was an ancient Earth. This is one of the books I got as a kid, and talking about on the page of Venus, showing its cloud-covered, 30-mile thick clouds of carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid, and we didn't know that in the 1950s or 60s. We picked it up in the 70s and late 60s when the first probes found it was hot and the sulfur would kill people. But we thought maybe it was a lush greenhouse. And of course, science fiction takes it to another edge where Venus was full of these insects that were man-eating insects. Of course, you have to have a heroine to sell comic books. This is what the surface of Venus looks like. When you're looking at the brightest star in the sky, only the sun and moon are brighter. Venus is always the third brightest object in the sky at -2 magnitude or more. And then Jupiter's always usually the fourth brightest thing in the sky. Mars was just tied with it for a while, but now Mars is getting dimmer as it's moving away from the Earth. But this is the rocks. They look like soft rocks. The weathering of winds, and also the 900-degree temperatures. You don't see craters anywhere. The craters, if they made it to the surface through the thick atmosphere, would be big and would create giant craters. But a weathered surface, hot, and not a friendly place at all is Venus. There it is again in my backyard telescope. Not much to look at, unfortunately, as close as it gets. There's an infrared or different kind of filter on that to show you the clouds that go around have a cyclic motion to them on Venus. And there is Venus as you look at it beautifully in the night sky. Well, let's talk a moment here about last night's launch. As Venus was setting, people were going out there getting ready for this 1:45 in the morning launch on Monday. Marty, I haven't said hi to you today. Marty Winkel, my co-producer, was out there at Spaceview Park in the middle of the night selling beautiful T-shirts to people out there. How was the crowd out there, Marty?
It was probably a little bit bigger than I thought it would be. Being, on Sunday night, actually Monday morning at 1:45, I figured it wouldn't be a lot of people. But around launch time, it was quite a few, more than I expected.
Well, I hadn't talked to you if the news media were out there like they were for the Artemis launch.
Yeah, Channel 9 was out there.
Channel 9, Sparvaro probably. But good, all right, yes. No European channels, of course, but there is a Not an ESA astronaut, but
Yeah, a lot of people from the UK, and had somebody from Australia and Belize.
great, great. Well, we got some great pictures from Mark Usiak, and thank you for sharing these with us, Mark. There is the venting going off during fueling with the astronauts in at T minus 20 minutes. All right, so that was right around 1:25 last night. Heading into the launch, the walkout is what they call it, where the astronauts come out and to the press. No matter what time the flight is, the walkout is. There's the 4 astronauts there, and there's the families. Now, Mark Usiak is in a crowd of about 40 photographers around him. Carlton Bailey, our friends out there, good friend John Tilko, who's friend of Woody Hobaugh. You're going to see pictures of Woody Hobaugh here. He's the pilot. But that's their families there within the ropes. And you see the black Tesla. Apparently that's a new model Tesla. And who's this taking a picture of Woody Hobaugh there? Why, that's Victor Glover getting a selfie with him. The man I say who's going to be the commander of Artemis 3 and put his boots on the ground. That's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. He'd be an excellent choice. And he's already flown in space one expedition. Here is the walkout again. The families there, the girlfriends, the moms, the wives, the uncles, and looks like someone was in our museum and bought a shirt off of us, Marty, there that we're selling there. So they got it roped off there. There's the heart that Woody Hobaugh's making to his girlfriend there on the left and his mom. And a friend that I've made, John Tilko, was there to photograph it. Unfortunately, John has to go back, I understand, to Boston, but he gave him a big shout out to Woody there as a personal friend of his. So, good shot, Mark Usiak. He got our NASA administrator, Bill Nelson, and his posse, which includes, this is the brain trust of NASA. There is Janet Petro with her blonde hair turned to us, taking a picture of something. Pam Melroy's face is just coming out from Janet's head there. And in the background is Bob Cabana. And of course, Pambo is the deputy director and Cabana is the associate director. And of course, Janet Petro with the blonde hair in the foreground there is the director of Kennedy Space Center. And Calvin Manning, the assistant director, is above my head there. So what a nice little shot there. It was disappointing, of course, but wow. Everybody showed up there except Vice President Kamala Harris, who's technically over NASA. So good shot there, Mark. There they are waving to the crowd there. The Egyptian, by the way, in the foreground there, Marty, has 6 children. All right, I read about. So, maybe Wednesday or Thursday we'll do it. Wednesday we're going to have Mikey in and talk about the tethered satellite payload, Mikey Haddad. Maybe Thursday we'll pick up, or tomorrow, and talk about these crew members individually. But I did not know the prince going to space has 6 children. So they're all leaving loved ones that are holding their breath when we finally launch. And it's going to be about, I think, 12:34 on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So we don't want to launch before they're ready, or that just causes problems, right? So we wish them all well. Well, let's talk about a couple shuttles in the month of February there. Like I said, we had over 55 humans orbit the Earth in the month of February. This is out of whack there. That's another picture to remind you to get out tonight after sunset. Look in that twilight. That's spectacular view of Venus and Jupiter. The moon's going to be behind you, headed to a full phase over about a week from today. Well, STS-75 was launched on this not on this date, but let me get my scroll here to since my printer didn't print out my notes. We had Mr. Andy Allen as the commander of this flight, and Andy's a good friend of the American Space Museum. Here they are. This crew was going to fly the tethered satellite, all right? And this is what their logo's all about, is the shuttle and is extending the tether at the top to create electricity around the electrical belt that the lines are showing there. And there's your crew. Marty, we have a comment?
Yeah, we got a comment from Z Gubin. I was going to say something, but I didn't. Anyway, that one astronaut is not from Egypt. He's from the United Arab Republic, Emirates.
All right. Yes, I do stand corrected. United Arab Emirates, okay? Not the nation of Egypt. He's the second, I'm not sure if that's true. I said Arabian person, but yeah, thank you for correcting me that. Don't have my notes in front of me here, so I made that faux pas. Thank you. 75 here is Horowitz, Chang Diaz on his fifth flight. The pilot of Horowitz is three rookies on this 7-member flight there, launched on the they've got February 22nd, 1996. Yeah, they're up there till March 9th. All right, they deployed the tether, but it got stuck. All right, here is some fun crew antics here, having fun with the tethered satellite during their crew photograph there. Thank you, Marty. And a picture on the green screen there. There's Andy Allen sitting down on the right side there. And then they did, because it is a string that was going to go out for, gosh, like 20 kilometers or something like that. They had a lot of fun with string, all right, in this mission there. So, and is that 75 or is that the one that looks like Lauren Schreiber there? Yeah. All right. Anyway, it was this was the successful mission where they successfully deployed it. The other one that got caught. That's right. This one did work. And we're going to talk with Mikey about this tethered satellite mission, okay? Big success. It created energy. It actually could be used to lift the space station up in a higher altitude above the Earth, but we don't use it. We abandoned it. We're not doing tethers off the International Space Station. And stay tuned Wednesday with payload expert Mikey Haddad, and he'll explain why and why they covered up in string there. Well, STS-133 was, of course, the last flight of Orbital Vehicle 103 was its tail number. Discovery, its 39th flight. It took off on March 24th, 2011. And Lindsay was the commander. Bo is the pilot. We had Alvin Drew on there. Bowen on there, who is going to be launched, waiting to be launched on the Crew Dragon. Bowen also flew on STS-32, all right? So he flew in May 2010, and then he flew in February 2011. And I think he replaced an astronaut who had a bicycle accident. So Bowen, our commander of the Crew Dragon waiting to get launched, was in space 12 years ago on Discovery. And, of course, Barrett and Nicole Stott. And Nicole Stott's a great friend of ours. That mission took a lot of supplies to the space station. Here is your crew there. They are thanking you, America, all right, for this space program financed by the taxpayer, 30-year legacy, coming to the end here. This is the next, the last launch of the orbiter Discovery. And then, of course, Endeavour was launched in April 2011. And then finally, in July 2011 was STS-135 in Atlantis. They always had these cool Hollywood-style posters in the end, like the last third of the mission, particularly those that went to the space station, with technical stuff escalating as it has. They would have these real cool posters, and this is 133 there. Nicole Stott, we've mentioned time and time again, is a great friend of the American Space Museum. Here's the walk out there. Carlton Bailey captured this walk out there with Bowen and Drew there. Nikki giving a wave there, maybe to her husband Chris and her son Roman as she gets ready to go to space for her second time. She spent 5 months on the space station about 2 years before this flight. And there's the launch. There's a hard-working Carlton Bailey out there. That is one of his remote cameras. There's the short buses that they take the photographers out there in. And getting set up 12 years ago. Looking good there, CB. And he took this photograph of the launch of Discovery's final launch. And Marty, you're third for your 2 more launches left for you, as Marty was launch process services manager there for 40 people working on the shuttle engines in the computer area there. Thank you. We got Doug Forrest watching. Gary, I hope that you enjoying your beautiful background here, buddy. Gary Gerald, and sorry that I missed you this weekend. I was around here. You must have got busy. John Burrell's watching. Robert Law watching up in Dundee, Scotland. Hadn't said his name in a while. Tom Usiak is watching. Steve Hammer. Thank you for letting us use your pictures there, Steve. Zabugan, he's watching on Twitch. There, Rock Keats is watching. William Whiting, trying to stay warm up in Michigan. Hope this shot of your fellow Stay Curious watcher, Gary Gerald, keeps you warm there, Bill. Hurry back here. So, yes, we've got the beautiful launch of 133. There is Alvin Drew with Nicole Stott up in the lower deck. No, I guess, it would be up by looking over the rendezvous windows overhead there. And another picture of Nikki with her Hope t-shirt on in the cupola there, where all astronauts want to go and chill out. So, and Nicole Stott, I saw her post Art for Space Foundation is her foundation out of the Tampa Tampa St. Pete area. And so Art for Space, look that up there. Saw a bunch of kids doing art, and we appreciate again her being involved with the American Space Museum, as well as Mike Leinbach. There they are after the landing of STS-133 12 years ago. And Mike is holding up the banner that they put over the hatch when it was launched. And it's signed by the crew and the closeout crew. And Mike loaned those to the American Space Museum. There it is behind astronaut Charlie Walker and my co-producer Marty Winkel there. That was a week ago Sunday when we did a great interview with Charlie Walker that you can watch on the archives of YouTube. So, and what a guy, Charlie. Hope you're watching today. Like I said, we've got our almost a whole year of Stay Curious on YouTube, and we're coming up on our 3rd year anniversary on Facebook. Done over 761 episodes have concluded with this one today, Marty. Can you believe it? So, well, thank you everybody for watching Stay Curious today, catching up a little bit on some shuttle space history, what's going on with the launch of the Crew Dragon 6, and go outside and look at that conjunction, is what astronomers call it, of Saturn and Jupiter. Marty, good Streamlabs job today. Anything else to say to our friends out in the cyber world?
Nope, we're good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for staying curious with us, and I'll remind you all that it's tax time, and if you want to give a generous or small donation to the American Space Museum, you can give with confidence, because we've been rated very high, all A+ ratings with all the associations that rate nonprofits like ours. We are a proud Brevard County nonprofit for over 25 years, and we take pleasure in saying that we are celebrating the birth of America's space age in its delivery room, Brevard County. So until the next episode of Stay Curious, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.